Hey, it's Avi. How goes it? I was recently asked a question by a student. They asked me if it was a good or a bad thing to record, mix, and master your own music. So we're gonna look at the pros and cons of recording, mixing, and mastering your own music, and we're going to do so while keeping some of the realities of the music industry in mind. When you do full self-production, you fully self-produce, you are going straight up DIY, do it yourself. Every single little thing about the production and about the project you are going to do. Writing, recording, editing, mixing, mastering, all of it. QC, yeah, QC, what is that? Quality control. What? Yeah, you want it to sound professional, right? Gotta make sure it passes QC. All right, so let's talk about the pros first. Being able to self-produce high-quality music is kind of a prerequisite skill to generating any buzz or getting any kind of success in the music industry. The only way for people to know how skilled you are, how good your music is to be able to actually listen to your music. This means your music needs to be on a medium, like a digital file or a CD, and it has to be listenable. It has to not sound super crappy. So learning how to self-produce your own music, getting it sounding listenable, even just listenable, will give you a serious leg up. Another thing is that self-producing gives you complete creative control. Recording, mixing, and mastering everything by yourself gives you total freedom for every part of the production process. This means no arguing with anybody, no personalities clashing, and no one to tell you no. This allows for the opportunity to manifest a totally unfiltered vision for your music. This is one reason why even seasoned pros continue to do a lot of their own engineering. When we self-produce, when we engineer everything ourselves, we are gaining insight and knowledge and skill for every single part of the production process. Even if we go and hire engineers in the future, having an intimate knowledge of the music production process will save you tons of time and money. You'll better know when a project is ready for the next step in the production process, and you'll spend less time arguing, likely misunderstanding, engineers who are just trying to get you the best end product possible. Having all of these skills, even if you're not great at every single part, will also let you know when someone's trying to take you for a ride. There are bad actors in every industry, and you're less likely to fall victim to them if you know what you're talking about. Now that we've covered the pros, let's talk about the cons. Recording, mixing, and mastering our own music is often a recipe for our own destruction. There's no one telling you what to do when. There are no deadlines except for the ones set by you. This is a perfect storm for procrastination. Not only that, we want everything to be good. We want to do a good job. We want everything to be perfect even, which sets us up for a solid case of perfectionism. No bueno. It's all too easy to get straight up addicted finding that next production tip or that next technique that's going to seemingly take your music to the next level. But if you're constantly trying to make things perfect, constantly going back and doing everything new because you found a better way to do it, you're likely never going to finish any project, really. Speaking from experience here. Too much experience. Far too much. Shut up, Siri. Procrastination and perfectionism are already serious enemies of just writing music in general, so we really don't need to add any more to that. We don't. It's hard enough. Having to make every decision by ourselves is simply exhausting. Just like with anything, there is a point of diminishing returns, and this is especially true for audio engineering. And it's not just the decisions themselves and all of them, it's also the quality of what we're hearing. As we work, our ears get tired, which means we're literally hearing less and less detail, especially if you are monitoring and recording and mixing really loud. When our ears get tired, it impacts our ability to make good production choices. The result of this is usually a slew of blind spots in our music and production. The only way to avoid this is to be really disciplined with how you work, disciplined with the production process, disciplined with taking breaks, especially after, say, every hour and a half, take a good 20-30 minute break. Give your ears a rest. It sounds really easy. It's truly not. If you're doing all of the engineering, all of the recording, mixing, and mastering, you have to find ways to fit all of these steps within these healthy boundaries so you don't burn out and just don't take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself, or even music will cease to be something enjoyable. Even just so that you make good choices and do good work on your music. Doing this can seriously prolong the production process of a project. Prolong the production process of a project. Quadruple alliteration? Whoa, I did it. Finally, and this is really the clincher. This is the hardest one to hear. Doing everything yourself will likely result in just worse music, just not as objectively good music as otherwise. This is because there's fewer pairs of trained ears signing off on literally every component. That's the reason why all of the steps in the production process, maybe not all of them, but quite a bit of them, require totally separate engineers. There's often, in the highest level of the industry, there's a separate recording engineer, a separate mixing engineer. Sometimes there's an engineer in between them doing stems, and then that's going to go to the mix engineer, and there's a separate mastering engineer. Then, after the mastering, there's someone separate, usually an intern in the post-production studio, that was me, doing quality control on the mastering. Has at least 5 people right there listening so incredibly closely to what you're doing in your music and watching all of the technical stuff. That's a lot of jobs to take on by yourself. On top of writing all of the music, more sets of skilled or trained ears are going to catch technical errors or recording errors or a bad take that you are, blind to. Because you did everything. Because it's your music. You're too close to it. Okay, we got the pros. We got the cons. Now, let's bring things together. I want to teach you how to find your balance. Simply put, doing everything is just plain bad for us, mentally and physically. So how do we navigate this? Like we said, engineers are expensive and most of us don't have any sort of budget to hire them. What do we do? First off, in the beginning, especially if you're just starting out, you should 100% do everything yourself. I know we just talked about all these cons about doing everything yourself, but seriously, do it. This is honestly impossible to avoid unless you're already starting out with a ton of money, which is just not the case for most of us. But this is a good thing. All of the pros still apply here. Getting into the engineering, understanding what the tools are, what the process is like, will set you up for success. You actually might not be able to be successful without doing this exact thing. You need to have these skills. Again, unless you have a ton of money and on top of that, connections. Money can get you connections, but if you have money and connections, sure, yeah, you're gonna make it. Next, once you have some good experience in production and in engineering, it's time to take stock. Learning all of these crafts and spending so much time on them lessens the amount of time that we're able to work on our craft, on writing music, the thing we love to do. The whole thing that we're trying to engineer in the first place. In order to mitigate that, it's helpful to take a look at the process and see what you're good at, what you legitimately enjoy doing, and what's possible and affordable to outsource. For example, I recommend you and everybody else learn at least some signal flow and gain staging and basic recording practices. Achieving a high-quality sound on a home recording is easier than it ever has been. Recording is by far the most time-consuming part of musical production, and it's the thing that makes the biggest difference to the end product. So by doing this, you don't have to be in a studio with an engineer doing all that stuff. You can be home, you could be in your home studio, just recording yourself. So learn the skills to do that, because that will save you so much time and so much money. With this in mind, it's definitely a great idea to outsource mixing or mastering. I'm gonna tell it to you straight. Learn how to mix. That's useful. Outsource your mastering. Mastering is truly its own beast, and it is really technical. Sure, there's creativity and there's art to it, absolutely, but it is a highly technical thing, much more so, in my opinion, than mixing is. A bad master can make or break a release. Even if you have a great mix, if you have a crappy master, it's gonna sound bad. And that's the whole point of doing this, is to have our music sound good. But even this is highly individualized. If you're primarily writing classical film or electronic music, the recording process might not be much at all, especially if you're using virtual instruments or samples. If this is the case for you, certainly focus on mixing and on sound design. That is definitely where your energy is best spent. Then outsource the mastering, especially if it's a semi-professional or professional release. If you are going to mix and master your own music, do not do them back to back. Do the mixing, wait like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe more, maybe a month, and then do the mastering. The reason for this is that it's easier to try and fix things in the master, which is never, ever, ever the thing to do. Mastering is not the place to fix anything, not really. It's for technical stuff. It's for getting rid of mouth sounds or breaths that aren't supposed to be there and aren't stylistic choices. Mastering is to make it so that your music, your track, is going to fit neatly and sound fantastic on any and every single speaker possible, as well as bringing it up to consumer levels. That's what mastering is for. Doing it wrong can really destroy a mix and destroy a recording. So if you're going to do both yourself, separate the process with time. It'll give you a totally different mindset. It'll give you a break from the mix, a break from the recording, and that's going to be super helpful. Yeah, okay. So if you're totally broke and you can't afford to outsource anything, but you know you want to, you know this is a good idea, and you want to be able to write more music and release more music, the best thing that you can do to balance your process is production bartering. This is the way that amateurs and pros alike get their best work out there. On the cheap. The idea here is to make an engineer friend and create a barter system for each of your projects. Say you're really good at mixing and you meet someone who's really good at mastering. You can mix all of that person's projects and they can master all of your projects. And you do it for free. Do it for each other for free. Even if you're just taking one part of the process away from each other, it's a massive help. And it's going to make you better at the thing you are good at and like to do. You can learn from each other and lift each other up, which often leads to more opportunities collectively for both of you. Most importantly, it gives you another pair of ears on your project that you can trust, that are trained and skilled. They will point out your blind spots. They will tell you when something's not ready for mixing, not ready for mastering, needs to be edited. They're going to tell it to you straight. So, should we be recording, mixing, and mastering our own music? Honestly, no. And that's simply not achievable from an economic perspective, at least not for most of us. Which means it's up to us to get our feet wet in engineering and find our own balance. To find the parts of the production process that we're good at, that we maybe even like doing, and finding the one that we really don't like doing that we can outsource, either through a professional, by giving them money, or by finding a friend who's good at it, and do a production barter between you. There's one common saying in the engineering world that really epitomizes the need to work on your skills. You can't polish a turd. Even if you have the best production skills in the world, if your music doesn't hit, no one's gonna listen. That's why I'm sharing my free guide with you, 7 ways to write a more effective melody. There I give you 7 powerful and repeatable steps to make sure that your melodies are the very best they can be. Your hooks, your choruses, your pre-choruses, your verses, you can go through it all with them. You can do it all. You can do it all with this guide. It's fantastic. Over 1,000 people have already downloaded it and they think it's great. They've told me so. So, weird pointy things, weird hand things. Head to justwritemusic.com to grab your copy. There's a link down in the doobly-doo. Thanks so much for watching and for hanging out with me today. I'm Avi, and don't forget to be awesome.